All right. Terence Crawford got some problems with Jaron Ennis. Says that he's not on his level after the performance against Karen Kukadajian. That may be true, but it doesn't get Terence Crawford out of that fight. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the 147-pound division where Jaron Ennis had his first, I do believe his first, maybe his second, successful title defense of the IBF title that he received when Terence Bud Crawford wouldn't fight him. Moved up to, I'm just adding a little extra there, wouldn't fight him though, and goes to 154. So what we received was a rematch of this Karen Kukadajian fight that, honestly, man, the first Karen Kukadajian fight with Jaron Ennis was absolutely terrible. In fact, that was the first IBF title defense for Jaron Ennis. The first fight with Karen Kukadajian was absolutely horrible, where Kukadajian runs around the ring. Jaron Ennis winds up not looking very good in the decision, but gets a unanimous decision win, winds up winning, every round of the fight on every scorecard. But fast forward to where we are right now, and we had a rematch. The rematch was actually a lot more exciting than the first fight. Karen Kukadajian brought the fight to Jaron Ennis. Still very, very tricky. Fought on the outside when he wanted to fight on the outside. Same general pattern for Jaron Ennis, with Jaron Ennis walking down Karen Kukadajian. I have to tell you, man, that I would give Jaron Ennis probably a C+ as far as his ability in that fight. C+ B for himself, because Karen Kukadajian put on a bit of a show. He did. Now, I don't think that Karen Kukadajian won very many rounds. I didn't keep the score because I was, like I said, just coming off vacation. So I didn't actually keep the score. But I thought maybe in the first 4 rounds, he could have got a couple in the first 4 rounds, maybe 1 or 2 towards the end. But Jaron pretty much was the one that was really stepping to Karen Kukadajian the entire fight. And I think it's fair enough to say that he had a dominant performance in that fight. Now, Karen Kukadajian is not an easy fighter to beat. He is somebody that has very, very good footwork. He's somebody that is and somebody also that does not commit to punches. So you'll see Jaron Ennis get caught with a shot, but please understand that Karen Kukadajian is not sitting on that punch. He's throwing it kind of like an arm punch and getting out of there at the same time, so he doesn't have to have anything coming back for him. So to me, it looked like Karen Kukadajian obviously had a very, very good amateur box background, very, very smart guy, but at the same time, Jaron pretty much just walked him down and did what he needed to do in that fight, and he got the win. And I'm happy it was a lot more exciting fight this time than it was the last. Now, as far as Terence Crawford, though, Terence Crawford can say that Jaron Ennis is not on his level. He can say that, and he can believe that it was a bad performance. I hope that means that Terence Crawford will fight Jaron Ennis, because I don't know how much longer Jaron is going to stay at 147 pounds. But if somebody was to say, oh, no, Jaron is not on Terence's level, that particular performance, okay, I can see it. However, let's go back to when Terence Crawford was at 135. There were several fights at 135 that went the distance for Terence Crawford. He went the distance with Ray Beltran. He went the distance with Ricky Burns at 135. Now, he winds up getting more strength and getting stronger at 140 and 147. That very well may be the case for Jaron Ennis as well, who's a very big guy, goes to 154, is allowed to have an extra is allowed to have an extra 7 pounds. And also, he doesn't have the same day rehydration problem that he has with the IBF if he goes to fight with somebody else when he goes to 154, or if he does a unification at 154. So I would not be so quick to say, oh, yeah, I know that I'm that much better than Jaron. Jaron also has not been very active. There's been large amount of time over the last couple of years actually throughout his career, whereas he's had long periods of inactivity. So if under Eddie Hearn, Jaron is able to be more active, if he's able to fight 2-3 times a year, you may see after fighting 3 times in a year that he is really, really sharp, that he's learned and he's got that much more experience. And hey, man, Terence Crawford slides a little bit, you very well may have an upset between Jaron and Terence Crawford. Also, Jaron is probably going to be a lot more dialed in for Terence Crawford than he would be necessarily than he was for Karen Kukadjian. Because to me, it still kind of seems like Jaron Ennis is playing it by ear out there. Like he's just deciding what he wants to do as he's going along. Where if he has a game plan that's meant to break down a certain fighter, then, you may see something even more devastating. But I think that may come in time. Anyway it goes, though, I got to tell you, man, I think that Jaron Ennis is a spectacular fighter. I'm very happy to see him active. Even, with him being on that card with Bam, that was a solid. I didn't get to see the Bam Rodriguez fight. I saw a fight like a little bit before that, but I was out in New Orleans on vacation handling some business. So, didn't get to see the Bam fight yet, but we'll go check out the Bam fight later on today. Hopefully those guys can continue to fight on cards together and generate real interest for them, because they're both very, very terrific fighters. I have to take my hat off to Eddie Hearn for signing those two fighters and featuring them in the way that he's featured them. Now, that said about Terence and Jaron, obviously, Jaron Ennis is still at 147 pounds, so you have the champions there, Mario Barrios, Stanionis, and Brian Norman. Maybe those guys will be willing to get to fight Jaron for to get unification fights and ultimately get to undisputed. But something in the back of my mind says, no, I don't think that's going to happen. And I think that you're going to find in the next couple fights that dealing with Karen Kukadjian and that really tricky kind of slick stuff that he was doing is actually going to make Jaron Ennis a better fighter, because he's seen those really awkward looks. Because I'm telling you, man, that dude was an awkward Karen Kukadjian, where you have Brian Norman, who's much more straightforward. Amanda Stanionis, who's much more straightforward, and Mario Barrios, who's definitely much more straightforward. You may see some really, really good fights out of those guys. I did a video earlier today talking about Gervonta Davis, Keyshawn Davis, and Andy Cruz potentially having fights together, because obviously Shakur is not going to fight Keyshawn Davis, but Gervonta, trainer Kenny Ellis talking about both those fighters and a chance to get the sweepstakes with Gervonta. Man, that could be great for 135, and this thing could be really great for 147. I just don't know whether or not the promoters are going to play ball with each other in order to make that fight happen. Those unification fight happen. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.